Hi guys, welcome to the video. And today we'll discuss some interview questions on Docker and Docker Swarm. So yeah, let's go. Guys, our first question is components of Docker. So we'll mention Docker client where our Docker commands run, then Docker registry or Docker hub, and then we have a Docker daemon which actually processes the CLI commands, and Docker registry or hub where our images get stored. Now, difference between Docker image and container. So Docker image is a package of our application code, software, libraries and dependencies, and container is basically the running instance of our image. Flow of building Docker image, so that you have to mention that first we check out the code from our SCM, then we build the package, then we test it, and then once it is tested, then we build the image and push it to our wherever we have to. If we are using Azure or AWS, then we have to push into their registry, or we can keep it in Docker hub with tags. Now, difference between registry, repository and registry. So repository is the image but with different version, and registry is the collection of repositories. Now, syntax of Docker file, and write one sample Docker file. So this I would uh, suggest you to write it down once, because in interviews they may ask you to write some Docker file, like how if you have written any Docker file, so write it. So yeah, just try practicing it by writing. Now commands to build Docker image run container. So that you have to run that you write, because they may ask you to write those commands. And also whatever like they may ask you to write, if you have to run the container in a detached mode, then what is the command? So Docker run -d. So all these things, they you should know, like what is -d, what is -t, what is -f, what is -it, what everything, like what does it mean, what is D, what is T, what T is tag, D is detach, I is interactive mode. So all this you should know. They may ask you how to optimize Docker file. So multi-stage Docker file we should use executable form while passing the parameters in command or in entry point, not the shell form. And then we should not we should use official images, the alpine images. So these are the ways. Now, best practices to write Docker file, or what are the best practices in Docker? So always use Alpine, or if official images. Always, like, we can export Docker content trust, and these all things you can write. So Docker containers will be able to communicate with each other. If yes, how? So you have to mention about port publishing or port mapping, in which we map the host contain like host port with a container port. And that's how we the containers can communicate and can be accessed. Yeah. So command to get running container, so that is Docker PS or Docker container ls. How to remove unused container dangling images. So we have prune commands for everything that you should check out: Docker system prune, Docker network prune. What are dangling images? So the images which does not have the tag. So yeah, we have image in one Docker server. How to move image to another server without using registry concept. So basically what we do, we make the image in one Docker server, we push it to a Docker hub or registry, and then in another Docker server we pull that image. So this is the concept using Docker, using registry concept. But if we don't have registry, then we have a command called Docker save, then that image into tar file. Into tar, we have to make the tar file of it, of the image. Then we can do scp. Okay, after doing scp, When the commands get when the image get copies to another server, there we can untar the file using docker load -i and then the tar file. So in this way we can do. Difference between docker stop and docker kill. So docker stop is like graceful stopping of container, and kill is forceful stopping of containers. Then difference between docker run and docker create. Docker run is used to uh, it means it will start the container also. It will create and it will start, but create will only create the container, but it will not start. To how to mention environment variables, so that you have to give by -e. How to use secrets in docker, so that we have docker secret create, so that this please check those out. How to troubleshoot issue in any container, you have to check the logs of the container. You can go inside the container like docker exec it, and then you can check the logs. So in this way. Then difference between copy and add. So copy is basically it is copying the mm files or anything whatever in the path from the source path to the destination path, whatever you have mentioned. Add is like it can from the remote url, like from the urls, it will add the file. It is doing the same thing, but it can add the file from urls too, like which is on internet. And difference between run versus cmd versus entry point. So I would suggest that look the difference between all the three. It is very important, they can ask. Then how to store data in docker containers. We use docker volumes. So there are two types, local and then external. So local, in local we have bind mounts, which is using the host volume only. There will be a storage created in host container only, host only. And then there are externally nfs, ebs. Then explain networking in docker. So docker, um, we can create networks in docker, and there are many drivers of it, like bridge, host, and null. So how the ips are created, so that you check out in docker. If two containers are in same network, then they can communicate with each other using docker name also. But um, yeah, so this is how if the two containers to communicate, they should be in same network. So difference between docker file and docker compose file, check this out. Basically docker file is creating an image uh, for one container, and then docker compose file we have to like uh, where we give like we write file for creating services like application. So spring boot app, and like there is a application which is having spring boot and mongodb. So we can mention both the services in the same file. So if one service is dependent on another service, how to create it? That you see mutual dependency. We have to give depends on a key in our Docker Compose file. So what is Docker Stack? So Docker Stack is the where we can deploy multiple services, and services is basically the combination of image multiple images of same type. Okay. So yeah, difference between Docker, Swarm, and Kubernetes. So in Swarm, manual scaling is done, and if you want to do automatic scaling, some third-party tools is required. And Kubernetes, it's not the case. That's why Kubernetes is in demand right now. And how to do OS upgrades in container. So this we have to like drain the nodes. So you have to when the nodes are drained, then the containers will not be formed on that nodes. So how if we have to create service on particular node, how to do it? We have to give the constraint that and constraint can be given when we add labels to our nodes. So what is Docker Swarm? Docker Swarm is a container orchestration tool. And what is the architecture of Docker Swarm? So we have a master node, then we have a worker nodes, and master nodes controls the worker nodes. So yeah, you have to mention this. So how to join worker nodes to master? So that we have Docker Swarm in it. We do in on master node. Like the whole process, we get the token, and then with worker node token, we have to whatever server we have to join as worker node to master. We have to give docker join token with that worker node token, then it will get joined to the master node. So a command to create service, that is, so docker service create, then docker name or service name, then the image, then a sample of docker compose file they may ask you to write. There is the key points are version, services, and then its volume, networks. So you can try practicing by writing it. Two modes of service created. So if one is global mode, one is replica mode. So replica means the mentioned number of replicas will be created of the service. And then global mode means only one will be present on each node. So how many clusters you have generally in your company? They may ask you some questions like generally to recognize that do you have any idea about how many clusters? So basically, so in a cluster, basically we can have three clusters in our like one production, one QA, one UAT, dev, and in those clusters we have worker node, master nodes. How many? There can be multi-master too. So yeah, how many containers are there, like how many containers have you deployed till now, how much they can. So it depends how many version of docker being used. You have to give the version. Maybe they can ask, so check the latest version or check whatever version is being used in your company. Then what is multi-host networking, docker with overlay, how to pass arguments in docker file. So we have an arg command, arg that we use in Dockerfile, and while passing a command, we have to use build hyphen hyphen build hyphen args. Then command to give custom Docker file name while building image. We have to give the file name by using hyphen f, docker run hyphen f. So yeah, that's it for today, and thank you so much. And whatever, if you feel like there can be more questions, please comment down. Bye.